Have you got another means of payment, or do we just need to process it as a civil recovery issue?
Well, I paid.
Well, you haven't. We haven't accepted it.
You don't need to. Well, you have accepted it. Well, I haven't got the money, have I? You've got the money.
Well, we can give it back to you.
Well, I don't want it back. Are you a police officer?
Yes.
Right, can you identify yourself, please? What number are you?
1866, Bridgewater Police Station.
Mrs. Bradshaw, Miss Bradshaw.
That's correct. Miss.
Hi, Miss.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So they've asked for another form of payment because
Yeah.
they can't accept this form. Have you got another form of payment on you?
That is my payment.
Right, okay, but that's not tender that they can accept.
Yes, it is.
They're asking for another form of
Yes, it
payment.
is. Let me explain something to you. When you was training to be a police officer at the beginning, yeah, you swore an oath, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what the first sentence of the oath was? It was to serve the Queen faithfully.
Correct.
Right. Now those coins are legal tender by royal proclamation of the Queen herself.
Okay.
Right. She's authorised within the legislation for the Royal Mint to create those coins, and when she proclaimed them to be legal tender, she said that they are legal tender for payment throughout the United Kingdom.
Brett makes a very important point once the worker physically takes the coins into her hand. At that moment, the payment was made and the debt was cleared. Yes, shops can choose not to accept certain Royal Mint coins before a purchase is made, if that is their policy. But that wasn't the case here. The fuel had already been pumped into the car, meaning the product was already supplied and a debt had been created. When a debt exists, legal tender must be accepted. You can't take someone's lawful payment, then suddenly claim it doesn't count just because it's inconvenient to process. This is exactly where Sainsbury's, and later the police officer, got it wrong. They mixed up what was easier for them with what was actually required by law.
They've allowed me to take goods, and and then pay after the event. When the fuel goes into my vehicle, it becomes my fuel, but then it becomes a debt. Okay, now the whole point of legal tender is that you can use it to pay a debt. As the Queen said, it's for payment throughout the United Kingdom. So they don't have to accept it, and if they was to give it back to me, it would negate the debt. Okay, it's not a police matter, it's a civil dispute. So really, you know, I mean, really, you should be telling them that it's a civil dispute.
I've just spoken to them and said about the document whereby you can come back and pay within 24 hours. They're saying that they don't want to accept the tender that you've given them. Is there an alternative method?
I'm not going to pay it any other way. I've already paid. Okay, and regarding that document, it's called a no means to pay document, isn't it? Right, I'm not filling out a no means to pay document when I have got the means to pay and I've paid. It's almost like an acceptance that I haven't got the means to pay when I have.
When the officer arrived, she simply repeated what the Sainsbury's staff told her, as if a store policy was more important than actual law. Brett quickly shut that down by reminding her of the oath she took when becoming a police officer, to serve the Crown, and that's what really matters here. These coins weren't just random bits of metal. They were officially declared legal tender under the Coinage Act 1971, Section 2, through a royal proclamation. The Crown, via the Royal Mint, decides what is legally acceptable as payment in the UK. Brett wasn't giving his opinion. He was quoting the same authority she is sworn to enforce. By connecting her oath to the law behind the coins, he exposed just how flawed her position truly was.
May I take your name, please?
No. Oh, yes you will, because I'm driving.
Sorry?
Yes you can, because I'm driving. Sorry. There you go. Although technically, parked up on private land. I'll be going soon, as soon as I've finished dealing with it.
Is that the money?
No, I don't want that. If you give it back, then it negates the debt. Did you see that, officer? Officer?
Yes,
I've paid and she's thrown the money back in.
They've asked for another form of
No,
payment.
she's thrown the money back in.
Okay.
Do you understand? Can you explain to them that that negates the debt? You can't pay someone and then they just throw the money back at you.
Do the paperwork.
Do you want to remind them of that?
Yeah, so that's the details of the transaction, sir, okay?
Ma'am, can you show it to me? I paid it though.
Yeah, but it's unacceptable tender.
Officer, did you witness them give me the coins back, didn't you? And when I have paid, yeah?
I've witnessed them give you the coins back. I've also witnessed them say that it's unacceptable tender. They're not willing to accept it. Therefore, they've asked for another form of payment. You haven't provided it, so that's hence why they're giving you the form.
Well, I don't want that.
The officer then tried to push a no means to pay form onto Brett. These forms are only used when someone truly cannot pay, like if they forgot their wallet, their card fails, or they have nothing on them at all. You sign the form to admit the debt and promise to come back later to clear it, but here's the issue: Brett could pay. He had legal tender in his hand, fully backed by the Royal Mint. That means this situation did not qualify as no means to pay. By forcing that form on him, both the officer and Sainsbury's were twisting the situation, pretending a valid payment didn't exist simply because they didn't want to accept it.
Can you give these coins back to her, or can you keep them as evidence?
I'm not giving the coins back.
Well, you do realise it negates the debt anyway.
They haven't accepted
Well, I
it.
don't want that either, and that's nothing to do with me. I would like a receipt though, please.
You've been
A
served
copy
with
of your
it.
receipt. The transaction's still outstanding, I'm sorry.
Do they have to give me a receipt for VAT purposes?
You haven't paid
I have
because they
paid.
haven't accepted the tender.
I have paid. They had it in their hand. They threw it back in the car.
Okay, but they
You
haven't
witnessed they
accepted,
threw it
they
back
haven't
in.
accepted the tender, so therefore there isn't a
So
payment.
it's for, as I said to you earlier, the Queen said that
I
these.
understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
and you've obviously done your research.
Yeah.
What they're saying is it's not a acceptable form of tender. They're not accepting it, therefore the debt hasn't been paid.
But you're an
hence
officer of the
why-
law, aren't you? You're a sergeant or just a PC?
PC. Hence
Yeah.
why they've given you this, because they want you to pay in another acceptable form of tender.
So what do you think? If they said that they didn't want to accept a £50 note and threw the £50 notes back in, yeah, and then gave me that, would you think that's reasonable?
Well, you
Or £20
have to offer
notes.
another form of payment.
When the officer asked Brett for his name while he was sitting in the car, he was legally required to give it. Under the Road Traffic Act 1988, any driver on a public road must provide their name and address when asked by a police officer in uniform. That rule applies no matter why the officer approaches SO in that moment. Brett had to cooperate, but what happened next made the situation even more concerning. Only a minute later, a Sainsbury's employee returned with a no means to pay form, and Brett's personal details were already written on it. Remember, Brett never signed it, never agreed to it, and had already offered legal tender as payment.
So say I had 50s and £20 notes, okay, and I went in there to pay them, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we don't accept those," right? Yeah, but even though this is theoretical, yeah, we don't accept those, and I say, "Well, I've paid, and I've left the money on the counter," and they came and threw them back in the car. Would you still be saying that it's up to me to pay in some other way?
But they just said that's an acceptable form of tender.
Yeah, but it's not down to them as to whether it's acceptable or not. It's down to the state.
They don't deem that acceptable.
It's down to the state. It's not for
Okay,
them to
right.
choose.
Well, they've served you with this. They
I
haven't
don't-
accepted payment.
I don't want that. That's nothing to do with me.
Right, okay, well, you've seen it. She's showing you it,
Yep.
okay?
I don't know what it is. I don't even know what it is. What is it?
It's
I haven't
because
signed any. What is it? No means to pay form or something like that? How did they get my details? Did you give them my details?
Because you've given me your details.
Right, that's against the law. It's a breach of my personal data. You should not have
You
done
haven't
that.
paid.
You have not. You should not
haven't
have done
paid.
that.
You haven't paid.
You know that. You should not have done that.
You haven't paid.
Brett then turns the whole situation around with a smart example. He asks, if someone pays with a £50 note and the store throws it back, then demands a no means to pay form, would anyone think that's fair? Of course not. The same logic here. Once legal tender is offered, the debt is settled. If the store refuses it, that's their problem, not Brett's. But the officer still didn't understand. Instead of acknowledging the law, she kept repeating that Brett should offer a different way to pay. That isn't the law. That's just doing what's easier for the store. By choosing convenience over legality, she turned a fully paid transaction into a dispute that made Brett look like the problem. And that's where her entire argument fell apart.
You've given them. I'll be lodging a complaint about this.
Okay,
You know
are
you're
you
going to be in
accepting-
trouble for
are
that,
you
don't you?
accepting the details?
No.
You're not.
You know that you're going to be in trouble for that, don't you? Because you're not allowed to give them my personal details.
Yes.
Breach of my data. Police giving private corporation my details. They threw the money back in the car. We'll be lodging a complaint with 101, I think, straight away.
When the officer holds up the no means to pay form, Brett immediately notices something shocking. His name is already written on it. He asks her directly, Asterisk, how did they get my details? Asterisk, the officer then admits she gave his personal information to the store because he had already provided it to her. That is a serious breach of GDPR and data protection laws. She obtained his details under the Road Traffic Act, powers that are strictly limited to road traffic matters. Sharing that information with a private company over a civil payment disagreement is completely unlawful. Police officers are meant to protect personal data, not hand it over to businesses whenever they feel like it. But instead of acknowledging this clear violation, she keeps repeating the same line asterisk asterisk, you haven't paid. This was a failure of duty, using police authority to support a supermarket while ignoring Brett's rights and breaching data protection rules. It wasn't just unprofessional. It was shocking misconduct. Clip 7. In his update, Brett explains what happened after he filed the complaint, and the result is shocking. The police claimed the officer did nothing wrong, effectively supporting a situation where a supermarket refused legal tender, threw it back into a customer's car, and then misused police powers to obtain personal information. That isn't nothing wrong. That's allowing corporate convenience to override the law. This case shows how one officer's lack of knowledge can be backed up by a system more focused on protecting itself than protecting citizens. Brett rightly points out how this turned into something close to fraud. By using the police to get his details, Sainsbury's could fill out a no means to pay form without his consent, creating a false agreement he never made. The real scandal: the officer didn't just make a mistake. She helped a private company cover up theirs. Brett's lawyer confirmed he had a valid claim, but taking it to court wouldn't have been worth the time or cost. Even so, the impact was clear. The officer's own inspector admitted she would be retrained, a quiet way of saying she was in the wrong without officially accepting blame, and that says everything. When a member of the public knows the law better than the officer enforcing it, something is very wrong. What makes this entire incident so unbelievable is how fast a simple payment turned into a lesson in police misconduct. Brett wasn't rude, aggressive, or breaking any law. He was exercising a basic right, paying a debt with legal tender, but instead of correcting the store, the officer backed them, treating their policy as if it overruled national law. It's a prime example of how policing can become about convenience, not justice. Meanwhile, Brett stayed calm and sharp. Every time they tried to twist the story, he countered with facts, like his £50 note example that exposed their flawed logic. After that, the officer had no legal ground left. And when she decided to share his personal details, she pushed the situation from a simple dispute into a serious breach of rights. In the end, Brett didn't just defend himself, he educated thousands. His composure and knowledge turned a minor disagreement into a powerful reminder. And never let a badge or a company logo convince you the law is optional. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really supports the channel. And make sure to check out Brett Chamberlain too. His link is down in the description. Thanks for watching.